Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
We have breaking news right now. We have a decision apparently on the Squeegee Kid homicide case. Fox 45 News has confirmed the prosecutor on the case, Rita Wistoff-Ito, was removed from the case yesterday. It's because of these surveillance pictures. Right now, there's a live news conference. This is Warren Brown speaking. Let's listen in.
Who loses his life on the street, allegedly at the hands of one of these kids who we don't think very highly of, as being nuisances, actually. And so it was just, it cut across, you know, a lot of territory. And so it's and the city is waiting, as they're waiting. What happened? What happened with this 14-year-old kid? Which is a sad commentary, quite frankly, right? Rather than wondering whether his case is going to be tried in adult court or juvenile court, it would be nice if we were waiting for his decision on whether he's going to Penn State or Maryland. But the reality of it is that there are thousands of kids who could be right here today in this city. And unless there's a monumental effort made to provide the services, quality of education, the programming, we're going to be back here again next month, next year, but we're going to be back here again. And so, you know, if nothing else comes out of all of this, it should be a determination that we will eliminate the breeding grounds. We will eliminate those environments where children are willing to carry guns, to rob, to do whatever, you know, affects our city in a negative way. So, you know, listen, it's in the lap of the powers that be. And I'm not talking about the politicians. I'm talking about the philanthropists, the corporations, the universities, the hospitals. We're talking about all of them coming together, much like we did after World War II, and we rebuilt Europe under the Marshall Plan. George Marshall was Secretary of State. Well, we need a third good Marshall Plan to rebuild these pockets of decay that are giving rise to trigger pullers. And until you deal with that, until you get deep down, then you're going to keep getting what you get. Simple as that. And it may not be appealing to help those that you don't even like, but you better understand that the tail will continue to wag the dog until and unless we deal with those environments that give rise to someone that might want to carry a gun, or that someone might want to be involved in antisocial behavior.
Brown, there was a plea agreement in place. Why didn't it go your way today?
You have to ask the judge. But I think it was a lot of pressure. And listen, we had a great judge, a man of you know, great integrity, impeccable, Judge Dorsey. And but he just felt like that this boy was not amenable to whatever treatment modalities were available in the juvenile court. So he said that was the most important thing to him. I just don't think he's amenable. And of course, we have a pushback on that because he hadn't been exposed to any offerings of the juvenile system. So it's kind of hard to say that he's not amenable when there's no evidence that he failed or dropped the ball in the participation of programs in the juvenile system. But I mean, I respect his opinion. I respect the man, so I respect his opinion.
Can you summarize for us a little bit of what you told the court from your perspective today?
Well, I mean, I dealt with the elephant in the room, which was, you know, I'm sure this court does not want these people to walk out of here feeling like they have been victimized twice, that, you know, they're victimized, you know, on the corner of Light and Conway. Then they come into the court system looking for, you know, some redemption, some help. They get victimized there. That the emotions, the loss of life, I knew was going to weigh heavy on the judge. Senseless, some might say, loss of life was going to weigh heavy on the judge. So, you know, so that we knew we had to deal with that. I mean, that's what we had to deal with. And I addressed it in my closing argument. I just brought it up, and Judge, I'm not envious of you because you've got to make a decision here. And if it is what we suggest it should be, these people are going to go out of here angry.
So Attorney Warren Brown, defense attorney Warren Brown, who he and J. Wendell Gordon are representing the 15-year-old squeegee kid charged with killing a man in July in Baltimore at Light and Conway Street, expressing frustration that this case has been remanded to adult court. This teen will not be in juvenile court, and Brown expressing some frustration and saying that Baltimore needs to have a monumental change in terms of dealing with young people and trigger pullers, or else the city will see this same kind of situation happen again. A bit of a depressing but somewhat of a realistic statement there. Let's move on as we're talking about this, of course. Breaking news, the Maryland Attorney General's office now wants to release a report detailing decades of child sexual abuse within the Archdiocese of Baltimore. The motion asking the circuit court for permission to do just that. And it says the investigation identified more than 600 victims. Now, 150 priests were credibly accused of abuse, apparently. That includes 43 who have not been identified by the Archdiocese. Now, the report says the conduct was so pervasive, victims were sometimes reporting abuse to priests who were perpetrators themselves. A spokesperson for the church says Archdiocese leaders are still preparing a response to the findings.
In other news, a proposal to change Baltimore's pension plan for elected leaders is slated for a final vote on Monday. If it passes, it would mean lifetime benefits for part-time work. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live to explain why pensions are becoming a thing of the past, and this could devastate actually the city's bottom line. Maxine?
Well, Mary, that bill, it would lower the number of years Baltimore city leaders must work in order to receive that pension. It would go from 12 years, which it currently is, down to 8 years. David Williams with the Taxpayers Protection Alliance says it won't just cost the city, but the taxpayers will be on the hook, too, for paying your elected leaders lifetime benefits, essentially for part-time work. He says it's a lifelong pension that you need to be aware of.
This may be a very serious financial hit to the city of Baltimore if this legislation passes. Right now, the pension system is fully funded, I believe, at $1.5 million a year. That could balloon, and that could be a real problem and put a drag on the city's finances for decades to come.
Well, according to city data, currently 3.2% of active Baltimore City workers are enrolled in a pension plan, and that includes first responders who must wait 25 years currently to be eligible for their pensions.
And Maxine, you also talked with Williams about the popularity of pensions and if they're becoming obsolete. What did he have to say on that?
Well, Mary, it's interesting. Williams says that pensions are really becoming a thing of the past, replaced often by 401ks and other defined contribution plans. From 1980 through 2008, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, participants in pension plans, they fell from 38% to 20% in the U.S. workforce.
A lot of cities are recognizing that it's what some of the workers want. They want a 401k. They want other options to invest their money in. And it's more stable, and it's really a win-win for taxpayers and the city workers because they're getting a better return, and it's not a burden on taxpayers.
Well, as of right now, Mayor Scott has not said whether or not he will sign this bill when it makes it to his desk, and if it makes it to his desk. On the second reading, 9 out of 9 council members voted in approval for that bill. It will appear on the agenda again for a vote on Monday. Reporting live in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Maxine, thank you. Well, this pension bill was introduced by Council President Nick Mosby on the eve before voters approved Question K. The council voted 9-2 to advance the bill. Zeke Cohen and Ryan Dorsey voted against the measure. 3 members, Mark Conway, Eric Costello, and Felicia Porter, abstained from the vote. Here are the 9 other members who supported the bill. The bill now faces one more vote on Monday before heading to the mayor's desk. The mayor has not publicly spoken out on the bill.
Last night, the Baltimore Sun editorial board came out against the city council's swift action, directly rebutting Council President Nick Mosby's claim that a vote for Question K was a vote for swifter pension access. In an editorial, the Sun said, quote, "It's far easier to make the case that Question K passed by a 2-to-1 margin in part because of Council President Nick Mosby's rushed legislation. The editorial went on to say they urge all parties to shelve this effort until the potential cost and benefits are clear.
And that brings us to our other question of the day. Is it fair for first responders to wait 25 years for a city pension while council members only wait 8? So far, 98% of the people who voted say no. There is still time to weigh in. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. Make sure to click on the Pulse tab.
It's basically as if a breath of fresh air. The membership's looking really forward to moving forward. They were very, very upset with how things were going.
That was the Baltimore County Police Union with a candid response to the news that Chief Melissa Hyatt is leaving the department.
And as the county executive's office says, a national search is now underway for her replacement. There are unanswered questions about what prompted this big change.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live right now with more about the chief's departure. Amy?
Yeah, Mary Kai, so the Chiefs, the end of her tenure is now less than 3 weeks away, but we do not know right now if Chief Melissa Hyatt resigned, if she was asked to resign, or if this was a mutual decision to go separate ways. Tonight, we do know that Hyatt's last day will be December 5th. That date marks the end of Hyatt's contract and the start of County Executive Johnny Olszewski's next term in office. But when asked why and what prompted the change, the county executive is not giving specifics. At one point today, he said it would be inappropriate to go into details given that these are personnel decisions. The FOP held a vote of no confidence for Chief Hyatt 6 months ago. Afterwards, you said you were fully confident in her abilities. What has changed for you in those last 6 months?
We listened to all of our constituencies, including the FOP. At the end of the day, we take those, that feedback into consideration, but we don't make decisions on one factor.
Will you say if Chief Hyatt had any say in this decision about her departure?
I would just again say that leaders come and go for a variety of reasons. I'm very grateful for the work that we've done. I'm proud of what Chief Hyatt and I have done together in the years past. There have been some really important reforms enacted, some important progress made in the department, and we're looking forward to what's ahead.
Amy, what does the outgoing chief have to say about the news that her contract isn't being renewed?
So, Mary, I asked the police department for an interview with Chief Hyatt today to discuss her departure, but I'm told that she is out of town on business. Chief Hyatt did release a statement yesterday afternoon after this news broke about her departure. She said, in part, with the end of my term quickly approaching, I am both saddened to be leaving my Baltimore County family and excited to see what the future holds. During my tenure as chief, we worked through challenging times. I am so very proud of our many accomplishments, including initiatives that sharpened our focus on community trust, public safety, and officer wellness. Meanwhile, today, Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski said an interim chief has not yet been named. We're live tonight. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Amy. Another tragic year in Baltimore as the city braces for 300 people killed. Coming up, how 2022 compares to years past.
Sanctuary City divide. I'm Angela Brown in Washington, D.C. Deep blue areas going opposite directions on laws giving rights to non-citizens.
We have breaking news right now. We have a decision on the Squeegee Kid homicide case.
That's right. Let's listen in as Tharu Vignaraja, who is representing Tim Reynolds' family, continues to speak out about this.
After hearing the courageous voices of the people that loved Timothy Reynolds the most, the judge ruled that under the law of Maryland, this was a case that deserved to stay in adult court. It was not an easy choice for him. He acknowledged that there were certainly factors that tipped in favor of keeping it in the juvenile system, but that overall, given the seriousness of the offense, the adult character of the crime, the conduct that was present, clear, evident in light of the evidence, in light of the videos, in light of the work that the incredible detectives and prosecutors did on this case, that justice required, the law required, that this stay in adult court. I think the family said it well a moment ago. This is not a victory. It is not a cause for celebration, but it is a moment where the wheels of justice are turning in the right direction. And for that, I know the entire family is incredibly grateful to the system, to the people that fought for it. Today made clear that justice can prevail even in daunting circumstances, even when the forces align against it, that the truth and the facts can be heard. And we are grateful. I cannot tell you how proud I am of all of them. No one can imagine, certainly not myself, how hard it must be in a case like this, with cameras pointing, with people with sharpened spears waiting to attack, to stand up in a courtroom.
All right, that is Tharu Vignaraja speaking on behalf of the Tim Reynolds family. Relief today for the family because the case against the 15-year-old Squeegee Kid who's accused of shooting Tim Reynolds, a brother and a husband to the two women right there, will stay in adult court. It all stems from a plea deal that City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby offered to the 15-year-old to have this transferred to juvenile court, and it would change a murder charge to a manslaughter charge.
That's right. Now, at the top of the hour, you heard from the defense attorney, the attorney for this teen, Warren Brown. J. Wendell Gordon, also an attorney in this case, was there. He didn't speak, but Warren Brown spoke. They were expressing their disappointment. But, of course, the case continues. So we'll now be waiting for hearings and trial dates for this case in the death of Timothy Reynolds.
And our coverage will continue this hour and into the 6 o'clock news.
The sanctuary cities are at the center of the illegal immigration crisis at the border, from busing migrants to creating new laws.
As the national desk's Angela Brown reports, voters are deciding whether to give migrants more rights.
Two laws before voters, one in Portland, a sanctuary city, and the state of Massachusetts with a handful of sanctuary cities. You might expect these laws to be a slam dunk, but only one was a winning issue with voters. New pictures capturing the first bus of migrants arriving in Philadelphia, a sanctuary city coming from the Texas border. Texas Governor Greg Abbott tweeting why, saying to secure the border, while Philadelphia's mayor calling the policy purposely cruel. But it's the Biden administration on the hot seat on Capitol Hill.
Secretary Mayorkas, do you continue to maintain that the border is secure?
Yes, and we are working day in and day out to enhance its security, Congressman.
Right. The numbers tell a slightly different story. Fiscal year 2022, over 2 million undocumented crossings at the southwest border as voters went to the polls. Voters in Multnomah County, Oregon, home of Portland, a sanctuary city, rejecting a ballot measure giving non-citizens the right to vote in local elections. Orlando Sanchez, founder of the Texas Latino Conservatives, is not surprised.
I think most Americans still hold dear to the concept that you ought to be a U.S. citizen to vote. Obviously, that was displayed in Portland.
While in Massachusetts, voters said yes to question 4, upholding a law giving unauthorized immigrants the right to obtain a driver's license. Sanchez is waiting for a solution from the federal government.
Perhaps we ought to look at giving some legal status to undocumented aliens who've never broken the law with no pathway to citizenship.
Ballotpedia says 15 municipalities allowed non-citizens to vote in local elections as of January. The NCSL says 18 states and D.C. have enacted laws to allow unauthorized immigrants to obtain a driver's license. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
Another cold one with highs only getting into the 40s this afternoon. 42 right now with a wind out of the west-northwest at 13. Even with some sun, it feels like 35 degrees. Cold for this time of year. Should be at 57 for an average high. Nowhere near it. Over 10 degrees below average. Could get even colder than this towards the weekend for the Ravens game. Yes, 42 degrees in Baltimore right now. 40 at Cockeysville. 39 at Bel Air. Temperature at 39 at Westminster. 38 at Gaithersburg, and some 40s along the eastern shore. Wind chills. Yes, there's a little bit of wind, so it feels like 35 in Baltimore. Got to bundle up and dress for 33 at Westminster. Heaters are going on the PM commute home at Bel Air, 32, and feels like 34 at Stevensville. All the temperatures across the state are below where they were by about 5 to 10 degrees over 24 hours ago, so everybody feeling the chill. And notice the lake effect snow showers and flurries already building now across Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. Buffalo through the weekend could see up to 4+ feet of snow. So how about that? Now, some of the snow showers and flurries that are kind of skirting to our north may eventually try to make a visit here from time to time. Last night, we actually had a couple of flurries up around Eldersburg. Some folks on Facebook were telling me into tomorrow afternoon, especially evening, a couple of these flurries may try to kind of bounce back toward us as well. So I'll show you that on the future scan. Nothing to accumulate, but nonetheless, kind of shows you that we're getting toward winter. Otherwise, it's drying out, it's chilly, and looks like really kind of the coldest air is on tap for the weekend. Look at all that purple that's going to be pushing toward us. Could not make it out of the 30s, perhaps, for the Ravens game on Sunday. We could threaten the record coldest high temperature for the date on Sunday. So overall, it looks like a pretty dry finish to today. Overnight tonight, back down into the upper 20s to around 30. I think it's colder than last night. And look what happens tomorrow. Noontime, a little disturbance swinging in from the north and west, maybe ushering in a couple of the lake effect snow showers and flurries our way. And you see here, it's mainly just a rain shower or two, but there could be a flake. See that blue that's up north? And again, it's going to be pretty isolated, very light, but through the PM commute into the evening, do not be surprised to see that. So we'll put a 20% chance of a late flake or a spritz in there for our Friday, back down to 43 for a high. Cold on Saturday, even colder yet. Sunday could threaten a record coldest high for the day and a record low Sunday night. And then we're back up into the 50s Tuesday, Wednesday, toward and just after Thanksgiving, really, actually. Could have some, maybe the S word around here. Well, we're tracking that, too. So you want to stay tuned. Lots of travel problems potentially late next week.
I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress.
After nearly 2 decades, Nancy Pelosi will no longer lead the House Democratic caucus. Why, she says, now is the time to step aside. Well, workers from more than 100 Starbucks stores across the nation are on strike today. It is the biggest labor action since the push to unionize stores began last year. Workers want better pay, more consistent schedules, and higher staffing levels. The protests coincide with Starbucks Red Cup Day, one of the busiest days for Starbucks.
That we show Starbucks that we hold the power. This isn't about them. This is about us. We are coming to the table, and they aren't. And we hold the power. By shutting them down, we are showing them that we are the ones making profits, not them.
Starbucks leaders say they are aware of the walkouts and respect employees' right to lawfully protest. They noted the protests are taking place at a fraction of its more than 9,000 U.S. locations. 299 homicides in 321 days. Next, we're going to take a look at this dangerous year in Baltimore and how it compares to other tragedies around the world.
They were once former President Trump's biggest supporters. Now they're doubling down against his new run for the White House. I'm Atrell Nashar with the latest Republican power players rejecting Trump.
Breaking news right now. The teen charged with killing Timothy Reynolds will be charged in adult court.
Mackenzie Frost's been following this case for us. She joins us live now from the Juvenile Justice Center downtown. Mackenzie?
Mary and Kai, we just wrapped up a couple of news conferences here with both sides talking to the members of the media. The defense comes out saying that they are disappointed with the judge's decision today to reject the plea agreement that was on the table. And if you remember, that plea agreement said that the suspect would plead guilty to a manslaughter charge and that would stay in the Juvenile Justice Center. That deal tossed out. Now we know that this case will move forward in the adult criminal justice system. Moments ago, we heard from Thiru Vignaraja, who's the attorney representing the family of Timothy Reynolds in this case. He says that this is not a win. Neither side is celebrating this. The family recognizes that this is a loss for both families impacted by what happened, but they do say that they are grateful for the judge's decision and they believe what happened belongs in the adult court system. We're still waiting to see when the judge will issue future dates for future hearings in terms of arraignments or another trial. We'll have to just keep watch. But for now, we're live outside the Juvenile Justice Center. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Well, joining us live to talk about this case is Sean Kennedy with the Maryland Public Policy Institute. Good afternoon, Sean. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. Glad to be with you.
Sean, what kind of policy considerations do you think the judge considered in weighing this decision?
Well, the judge had to decide whether or not an individual who commits an adult crime is going to be held responsible for that with adult time. And what has gone on in the Marilyn Mosby's office over the last few months has to weigh heavily on any member of the bench in Baltimore City. There's been disarray from her staff to what her actual actions are, from the Syed case to exonerations elsewhere, and obviously her conviction rate. These things have really, I think, taken their toll and created a skeptical judiciary in the city of Baltimore where they don't take anything she says at face value. And that's why it's likely that Judge Dorsey rejected this, because there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity here for the new incoming state's attorney to take a swing at this and see what the best approach is.
The defendant in this case was 14 when this happened. He's 15 now. There are experts who argue that 14 is not old enough to truly understand the consequences of their actions. Do you agree with that?
Not if you're committing adult crimes. I mean, in this case, this individual committed a crime with premeditation. It's clear going back for the gun and putting on a mask were evidence that they were trying to both conceal their identity and get away with this. So there's clear evidence of malice aforethought. And additionally, any individual who says that the people don't understand the idea of consequences doesn't understand any sense of brain development. Of course, we develop over time and we get more rational and less impulsive, but a 14-year-old is no necessarily less conscious of their actions than a 15-year-old or an 18-year-old or a 25-year-old for that matter. It's not a quick jump from 18 to 18 in a day, making you suddenly completely cognizant of your actions. We develop over time. So this individual was aware of what they were doing in the moment enough to get a gun and put on a mask, but they are not aware enough to be responsible for what they're doing. That seems far-fetched.
Sean, where's the balance here with public safety, but also making sure that juveniles get the services that they need? Certainly in this case, a man's life is lost, but you also, obviously people hope that there is some rehabilitation that's possible here.
I am a wholehearted believer in rehabilitation. I've worked inside of Jessup. I've worked with lots of programs that do reentry and recidivism reduction programs across the state of Maryland. They do great work. It doesn't work unless the people who are being treated want to be better. And when that happens, then you can find opportunities to make their lives better and make them more productive members of society. In the case of the juvenile, yes, there are earlier interventions that we can put forth that would help this person become a productive member of society sooner. But that treatment is going to take years, not 9 months like the current proposal would allow for. If you were convicted of manslaughter, you would get 9 months of treatment and released back onto the streets. All the problems that this kid brought to this moment in time are going to follow him unless we do a lot of work. And that's going to take years to get him back on the straight and narrow. And if we release him after 9 months, the odds he commits more violence and more heinous acts are astronomical. There's almost zero likelihood that this individual, if released within 9 months after leaving a juvenile center here in the state of Maryland, is going to be a better person for it.
The case is tragic all the way around. All right, Sean Kennedy, thanks for your thoughts on this today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
In a city in crisis right now, Baltimore is on the verge of once again reaching 300 homicides, with 299 people killed so far in our city.
If reached, this would mark the 8th consecutive year the city has seen this grim milestone. Alexa Ashwell joins us live right now with what experts believe it will take to break the troubling trend. Alexa?
Okay, Mary, the number 300 is a somber milestone the city of Baltimore has reached year after year. Since 2015, there have been at least 2,631 homicides here in Baltimore. Now, to provide some perspective with this, that's more than the number of sworn officers within the entire Baltimore City Police Department, or more than the number of U.S. military deaths during Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, according to statistics from the Department of Defense. Political analyst John Dede weighing in on this reality.
The jump from 2014 to 2015, a lot of people at the time said, that's an anomaly. That was the Freddie Gray riots and things are going to return to normal. And they never did.
Now, Dede believes the city may find hope in new leadership, including incoming Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates and more outside federal help. You may recall back in August, Maryland's U.S. Attorney Eric Barron announcing 3 initiatives to tackle crime in Baltimore, including what he called an Al Capone model of prosecution. You may recall this model is designed to take violent people off the streets of Baltimore by any legal means necessary.
And Alexa, did John Dede elaborate on why he believes these changes could help?
Yes, he did. As we've heard from incoming City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, he's vowed to enforce all laws on the books. Dede believes this will provide a new level of urgency within the city of Baltimore. Take a listen.
I think there can be some hope because there's an expression, a new broom sweeps clean. You know, even criminals know there was an election and Marilyn Mosby isn't going to be around anymore.
Now, Dede did point out the challenges he believes will remain. What those are, I'll have that for you at 5:30. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Baltimore County Council Chairman Julian Jones is in the hot seat tonight. A new Inspector General report accuses the county official of using public dollars to benefit a private business owner, one who has donated thousands of dollars to his campaign. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor has more on the road repair project that is driving controversy. Rebecca?
Yeah, Mary, the IG says that the council chair's actions were unethical, but Jones says that this is all untrue. At the center of this controversy is this newly paved alleyway in downtown Towson. The repair project cost nearly $70,000 from a reconstruction program the IG claims was meant for residential alleyways. Jones was the one pushing for the project that was brought to his attention by a private business owner. In a sit-down interview with Jones this afternoon, Jones tells me he does not know this business owner personally. However, campaign finance reports show this individual donated more than $10,000 to Jones's campaign over the last 2 years. Take a listen to Jones's response when I pressed him on this potential conflict of interest.
This business, this property owner that benefited from this project, are they donors of yours?
First of all, to be absolutely clear, I'm not so sure we should say that they benefited from the property. Baltimore County owns the alley, and Baltimore County repaired an alley that we own. He, as well as many others, would probably get benefit, or anybody would get benefit.
But this property owner that asked you to do this, that, you know, he brought it to your attention, that's where it got sparked, and it's outside of his business. So he's among the people that benefit from this. He might be someone who benefits from it more than others, considering he probably drives it day in and day out. Is he a donor of yours?
Well, the answer is yes.
Jones goes on to claim this donor never explicitly asked him to spearhead this road repair. He says the business owner simply complained to him about the issue, which led Jones to take matters into his own hands. Now, coming up tonight at 5, I dig deeper into this report and the disagreements that have already happened between Jones and the IG. But for now, reporting live from the control room, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
For everything, there is a season. With great confidence in our caucus, I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress.
It is the end of an era in Washington, D.C., beginning with the next Congress. Nancy Pelosi, the first woman to lead a major political party in either chamber of Congress, will step down from her leadership position. Pelosi has spent 20 years in Democratic leadership and says she's confident in her party's future.
My friends, no matter what title you all, my colleagues, have bestowed upon me, Speaker, Leader, Whip, there is no greater official honor for me than to stand on this floor and to speak for the people of San Francisco. This I will continue to do as a member of the House.
Nancy Pelosi grew up in Baltimore, of course. Both her father and brother were prominent city politicians who served a combined 4 terms as mayor. And also stepping down from leadership is Maryland's Steny Hoyer. Hoyer had served as House Majority Leader under Speaker Pelosi. Instead, he will become the ranking member of the House Appropriations Committee, which handles budgeting. Hoyer had been the #2 House Democrat since 2003.
Since former President Trump announced that he's once again running for president, some other Republicans are dropping clearer hints that they're close to announcing their own campaigns. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has the story.
From running mate to potential rival, former Vice President Mike Pence doubling down on how he feels about former President Trump's 3rd run for office.
There may be somebody else in that contest I'd prefer more. I honestly believe we're going to have better choices.
The 2024 field of GOP presidential candidates may soon get very crowded. Pence hinting at his own run, as is Republican Governor of Arkansas Asa Hutchinson, who says he plans to decide by January. A common theme emerging among expected candidates: their rejection of Trump.
We know the chaos that comes with him, and that's really not the kind of leadership that's good for America and really the future of our party.
Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo also expected to throw his hat in the ring, not calling out Trump by name, but the day after his campaign announcement, tweeting, "We need more seriousness, less noise, and leaders who are looking forward, not staring in the rearview mirror, claiming victimhood." Another list is growing too, conservative mega donors who say they're done giving to Trump. Among the latest, billionaire Thomas Petterfy, who gave $250,000 to Trump's 2020 run, says he will do whatever he can now to make sure Trump is not the GOP nominee. And Ronald Lauder, heir to the Estee Lauder fortune, who gave $200,000 to Trump's last run, also walking away. These mega donors ending their support for Trump clearly means that he'll miss out on getting some big checks. But the real damage that it could do to his campaign is the message it sends to other donors.
That is a signal to some other donors that they might be keeping their powder dry and holding their money back until they see who really is in the competition and who are the likely ones who could unseat him.
One advantage Trump does have is a built-in loyal base of supporters, many of whom are small donors giving $10, $20 at a time. One area where first-time candidates will have to play catch-up. In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar reporting.
Buffalo is getting ready to deal with snow coming down as fast as 6 feet per day this weekend. We'll have a live report on how that area is getting ready.
And thankfully around here, we're just subject to the colder air. 42 degrees at 5 for the p.m. commute and then dropping into the 36 and 7 p.m. below where we should be for sure this time of year. I'll let you know when things could be warming up and if it comes at the expense of our own flakes in my Weather Authority forecast.
Well, winter is a month away, but we can already feel it. You're looking at live pictures as the temperature is dropping. Fox 45 News is at the Inner Harbor today. Plenty of sunshine and chilly air means lots of jackets, hats, and gloves, a necessity. Meantime, a state of emergency is in effect for New York State as a massive lake effect storm is expected to dump some 6 feet of snow in western New York. Meteorologists calling the storm historic and life-threatening. We have team coverage right now. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers, who's from the state of New York, is tracking that cold weather. Jonathan. And Emily Gersh, by the way, is live in Buffalo with the upcoming storm. Emily.
Hey, Kai, that's right. Well, I'm standing at the Erie Basin Marina, which is in front of Lake Erie behind me, which is what causes these lake effect snowstorms. Now, it's relatively calm right now, except for a little bit of wind, but the heavy snow is expected to start later tonight. Now, earlier this afternoon, we heard from Erie County Executive Mark Polenkars, who said the snow could fall as fast as 3 to 4 inches per hour and accumulate up to 2 feet in 12 hours. And some places could see 4 to 5 feet of snow by the time this is all over.
When it's coming down at that rate, it is almost impossible to clear the road to make it safe to travel. So you have to let the snow accumulate. We'll continue our efforts, but it will not be safe for a considerable amount of time for motorists to go back on the roads.
You are an obstacle to our plow trucks when you're on the road. And when you get on the road and you get stuck, our plows can't get past you. That's what happened 8 years ago.
Now, the county executive was asked if the Buffalo Bills will still play at home on Sunday afternoon at Highmark Stadium. That's in Orchard Park, which is in the direct impact area of the storm. But just a few moments ago, the Bills announced they will play that game in Detroit. Reporting in Buffalo, I'm Emily Gersh. Now we'll toss it back to Jonathan.
All right, Emily, and it looks like we're just starting to see some of those clouds bubble up there. And I know worked up in Rochester, New York, just down the road there from Buffalo. And that's the kind of sky that you look for before the lake effect snow gets going. And it's kind of interesting. Just down the road, they may just have flurries. While you go about 5-10 miles away with lake effect snows, that band sits in place. It could put down, 20, 30, 40 inches of snow over several days. And some of the forecasts reminiscent of 2014 when they had some 70 inches of snow in spots around the Buffalo metro area. And that could happen again almost, 2014, what is that, 8 years to the day. So 42 degrees, mostly cloudy skies right now, winds out of the west-northwest at 13 miles an hour, humidity at 43%. And we are subject again to the cold air that, in fact, is part and parcel of what's going to be creating all the lake effect headaches off to our north. But around here, we're too far away from the lake, so it's just cold and clear and dry. Temperatures in the upper 30s, so right around 40 right now. We are running about 15 degrees below average for this time of year. 35 right now, Baltimore. We're at 32 at Bel Air. 36 at Laurel, temperature at 32 at Elkton, and 34 at Chestertown, running about 5 degrees below where we were just 24 hours ago. And that deepening cold air continues to impact places across the Great Lakes with the lake effect snow showers and flurries getting going. As those winds switch to a westerly direction, that's when this band's going to shoot off toward Buffalo, New York. Now, around here, we're still tracking some flurries at the southern end of all this activity that potentially could try to waft on through from time to time. One batch may actually come for tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, a sprinkle or flurry chance. Otherwise, it's generally that still kind of chilly and drying trend that we're going to see around here. And the coldest of the air is actually still to come. This is really when the lake effect snow machine is going to get going off to our north when some of this purple moves in all the way through Thursday and Friday. And I think over the weekend, that cold is going to be getting here. Now, in terms of temperatures overnight, we settle down to the upper 20s to right around 30 degrees for tomorrow about lunchtime. Or I should say midnight tonight, we're down just below freezing. By lunchtime tomorrow, the clouds increase, high temperatures in the 40s, and there are those sprinkles and flurries perhaps trying to move in. Nothing accumulating as we're above freezing, but still just kind of a blustery cold day for tomorrow. There could be that flake chance, and then some of the coldest air thus far this season, maybe even some record cold coming for the Ravens game on Sunday before a milder trend Tuesday, Wednesday, and also Thanksgiving. Actually, Thanksgiving turns colder again. Could get interesting by Black Friday.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Coming up at 5 o'clock on Fox 45, more than 600 victims. That's what we're learning from a request to release a report on sexual abuse in the Archdiocese of Baltimore. Live casino and hotel employees are donating turkeys to the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Amy Aronson reports with the continued support of the community, families will have a Thanksgiving to remember.
Yeah, we're here at the Anne Arundel County Food Bank where it's a busy morning because volunteers from Live Casino are helping out. They're donating turkeys and helping getting them packed up to go home to families. But right now, I'm actually lucky enough to be joined by Chef Jonathan O'Brien, who's here to tell us more about how to actually prepare that turkey. Because you get it and it's frozen and it's overwhelming. How do you make it look like this?
Well, this is a show turkey. Generally what we would do is we want to thaw our turkey fully, and then you want to brine it for 48 hours. Whatever your favorite brine is, it's really important just to have salt and sugar, water. Make sure it's cold when you put your turkey in. I would generally split the turkey in half because your white meat and your dark meat cook differently.
Oh,
and
that's
it would
smart.
Take twice as long. And if you're going to just carve it up anyway for your table, might as well just carve it up and then
Why not?
Have it separate and have it moist and juicy.
Okay.
And what we have here is just our offerings from prime rib. And
Yeah,
we
you've
have
got
at
quite a
Maryland Live.
selection.
Yeah, we have our cornbread stuffing, our giblet gravy, all the trimmings. We have our whole berry cranberry sauce with a little bit of orange for a little extra garnish, mashed potatoes, our Brussels sprouts, and then
dessert.
Pecan pie. Can't go wrong there.
Okay, putting you on the spot here, what is your favorite Thanksgiving side? What do you think is a must-to-have at the Thanksgiving table as a chef?
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese, okay.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you don't always indulge on it, but when it's time, that's my go-to.
Okay, any other tips for people like myself who are cooking Thanksgiving dinner, who get a little overwhelmed? How do you get all this on the table in time for everyone to enjoy without messing it up?
Really, just time in your oven. You cook it ahead and reheat it. Why not? As long as it comes out great and tastes great, that's all that matters. And spend time with your family. That's the most important.
That is important. And last but not least, if people want to come try your food, where can they find you?
Please come to the Prime Rib. We're located at Maryland Live Casino. We have a great time. We keep it casual and yet really fun. And that's what we'd love to see you guys out there.
Okay, great. Awesome. Well, if you all want more information on the Anne Arundel County Food Bank and actually heading out to Live Casino, you can head over to our website, foxbaltimore.com/newslinks for all the details. And quite the spread here. Hopefully everyone's tables look just like this. What do you guys think? Back to you.
Yeah, I'd love to have that table, Amy. Well, coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, are pension plans worth it? The financial burden the city council's plan could put on taxpayers. And we continue to follow breaking news, a rejected plea deal, the latest on new developments in the Timothy Reynolds case. A plea deal rejected for the squeegee kid accused of shooting and killing Timothy Reynolds. The latest from court as the case is ordered to remain in adult court.
Should pensions be a thing of the past? A closer look at the effect a new plan being fast-tracked through City Council could have on Baltimore's bottom line.
Questions after a major change in the Baltimore County Police Department. We push for answers on why the chief of police won't be keeping her job.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
We are following the breaking news tonight. A judge rejects a plea deal for the Baltimore teenager accused of shooting and killing Timothy Reynolds.
That means the fate of the 15-year-old squeegee kid will be in adult court.
That's right. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost live outside the Juvenile Justice Center. She joins us now with more information on where this case stands. Mackenzie?
Well, Merritt County, we know that the judge rejecting that plea agreement that would have had this teenager plead guilty to manslaughter and therefore stay in the juvenile justice system. Now this case will move forward in the adult court system. And we heard from both sides of this case earlier, moments ago, really. And this really comes on the heels of dueling press conferences over the last couple of days, with both sides of this coming out, speaking to the media publicly, pushing for their opinions. Now, inside the court hearing, we're not exactly sure what happened since we were not allowed inside, but we're told that videos were played as well as multiple witnesses took the stand explaining their side of this case. But again, dueling news conferences did not stop today, with both sides coming out expressing their disappointment in the judge's ruling. But the Reynolds family says ultimately there are no winners in this case. They're just happy that they believe that this will move forward in hopes of bringing justice for what they say is their brother.
We don't have the final say. We just present the information. And it's up to the judge to have the final say. I got to respect it, you know? And sometimes we don't get what we want. The fight continues, and we're going to continue to defend this case like never before.
This is just one hurdle in a set of hurdles that we have to go before us to get justice for my brother. And just so everyone knows, we are not celebrating. We believe that that was the right thing to do, but there are no winners in this case, and we just are going to continue the fight to get justice for my brother.
And Mackenzie, it is tragic all the way around. After today's decision, what exactly comes next in this case?
Well, we know that this will play out again in adult court, but it's not exactly clear the specific dates for those next court hearings. It's also unclear what side the city state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby's office, argued for either the judge to accept or reject this case. We are not told. The families did not tell us. We did reach out to the state's attorney's office to see if they would give a comment on this. We're still waiting to hear back, but again, we'll have to wait and see the next court hearing that will be set, but it will be an adult court, and therefore the proceedings will likely be open to the public. We're live outside the Juvenile Justice Center. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Fox 45 News has confirmed the previous prosecutor on the case, Rita Wistoff-Ito, was removed yesterday. It's because of the surveillance pictures of the July incident. Rita Wistoff-Ito was accused of leaking information to the attorney for the victim's family. Now, Homicide Division Chief Michael Dunty is handling the case.
And state law requires judges to base their decision on 5 factors: the age of the suspect, their physical and mental condition, their amenability to treatment in a juvenile program, the nature of the offense, and finally, public safety. Well, just last week, the same judge ruled the 15-year-old suspect in a deadly Memorial Day weekend shooting at the Inner Harbor will be tried as an adult. That was a blow to the city state's attorney's office, which requested the case be moved to juvenile court. We spoke with a former juvenile court prosecutor on the parallels between these two cases.
This is very different than most cases because we know we have a victim's family who has gone very much public to say, hey, this is the wrong result. We weren't consulted. We want this person who killed our family member to stay in the adult court.
Fox 45 News continues to question city leaders about the prevalence of guns on the streets of Baltimore. According to court documents, the suspect picked up a backpack and a gun was inside. Prosecutors believe that gun is the murder weapon. Now, the question is, where did the gun come from? Mayor Brandon Scott says getting guns off the streets is a priority for his administration.
Public safety is the mayor's #1 priority.
Go after the folks with the guns that are committing the crime.
What do you think it is when the police are arresting and seizing more guns, when they're clearing more homicides?
Why should the people of Baltimore look at this and see you and trust you to say that this really will make a difference?
Yeah, because what you would say is that, one, Mackenzie, what I'll say is this. Our police department has taken 1,600 weapons off the street this year.
Yesterday, City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby did not answer our questions about whether a plea agreement involved questions about the source of the gun. The leaders inside City Hall also are staying quiet. Fox 45 News sent all members of the City Council some questions asking, do you believe the suspect should be required to provide information about where he got a gun from part of his plea agreement? Should investigators be focused on where the suspect got the weapon to root out gun suppliers in the city? The council members have ignored our questions.
Well, just last week, Governor Larry Hogan announced the federal government is joining in Baltimore's crime fight. Hogan said there is a new 16-member task force made up of state police, transit police, plus Anne Arundel and Baltimore County officers. We are told they will be using real-time intelligence to enhance overnight patrol efforts along the main arteries in and out of Baltimore City. U.S. Attorney Eric Barron explained this effort will help crack down on the flow of guns into the city.
If you intend to drive with guns or drugs on a Maryland road, you better think twice. Those who turn to guns to solve problems must be deterred by any legal means necessary.
Well, there was no representative from either the city nor the police department at that news conference. Governor Hogan said incoming City State's Attorney Ivan Bates is aware of the plans. We have more coverage ahead at 5:30. The Reynolds family spokesperson, Tharu Vignarajah, will join us live to talk about what happened today.
Also breaking tonight, we could soon see the results of a decades-long investigation from the Maryland Attorney General's Office on sexual abuse in the Archdiocese of Baltimore.
The investigation identified more than 150 priests who were accused of abuse and hundreds of victims. Riel Creighton joins us now with what we're learning tonight. Riel?
Okay, and Mary, essentially what this is a motion filed by the Attorney General's office to release their report that details the last 80 years of sexual abuse within the Archdiocese and the Archdiocese's response to it. In that investigation, they say they uncovered some 600 victims. The Attorney General's office compiled a 456-page report, but many of the details are contained in the motion. The report, according to the AG's office, summarizes sexual abuse and physical torture perpetrated by 158 identified priests. The investigation, they say, also revealing the Archdiocese failed to report many allegations, conduct adequate investigations, or remove abusers, and instead went to, quote, great lengths to keep the abuse secret. But we got reaction today from the Maryland director of the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests.
Motions across the board, right? I'm hurt. My heart just aches. I just can't believe it. I'm angry. Hopeful. I'm hurt because, I mean, we're talking 600 kids, right? 600. And a study came out, about 15 years ago when this whole crisis was coming out, and it was by an independent. Only 6% of victims ever come forward.
Well, the point that he is making, and it is also contained in this motion, is that there are likely many, many more victims out there, potentially in the thousands. Reporting live tonight outside the Baltimore Archdiocese, Riel Creighton, Fox 45 News.
Riel, thank you. Elsewhere in a city in crisis, a proposal to change Baltimore's pension plan for elected leaders is slated for a final vote Monday. If passed, it would mean lifetime benefits for part-time work. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live to explain why pensions are becoming a thing of the past in some areas and how this could affect Baltimore City's bottom line. Maxine?
Well, Kai, in Baltimore City, there are currently more than 12,000 employees who are part of the city's pension plan. And if that bill is approved, there would be even more. And in the long run, it could cost you, the taxpayer, more than you think. Set for a vote Monday, it's a fast-tracked bill that would lower the number of years Baltimore City elected leaders must work to earn a pension. Currently, they must serve 12 years, but the bill aims to make it only 8. City Council President Nick Mosby, who sponsored the bill, claims it's necessary after Baltimore City voters overwhelmingly passed Question K on Election Day, establishing future term limits for local elected officials.
This may be a very serious financial hit to the city of Baltimore if this legislation passes. Right now, the pension system is fully funded, I believe, at $1.5 million a year. That could balloon, and that could be a real problem and put a drag on the city's finances for decades to come.
David Williams, president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance, says it won't just cost the city, but you, the taxpayer, will also be on the hook for paying your elected leaders lifetime benefits for part-time work.
And that could mean that thousands of more people in the city of Baltimore will be receiving pensions.
According to city data, just over 8,000 city employees are receiving a pension, and nearly 4,000 fire and police employees who are required to work 25 years before becoming eligible for their pension benefits. That's 3.2% of active Baltimore City workers enrolled in a city pension plan.
I mean, you can look at someone who's 40 years old, becomes a city council member at 48. They're receiving a pension for the rest of their lives, which could be 30 to 40 years.
Williams says pensions are becoming a thing of the past, replaced by 401ks and other defined contribution plans. From 1980 through 2008, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, participants in pension plans fell from 38% to 20% of the U.S. workforce.
And a lot of cities are recognizing that it's what some of the workers want. They want a 401k. They want other options to invest their money in. And it's more stable. And it's really a win-win for taxpayers and the city workers because they're getting a better return, and it's not a burden on taxpayers.
The leader of the city's retirement system and finance department have even expressed concern and pushed back on the timing of this bill. And Mayor Brandon Scott, he has not said publicly whether or not he would sign this bill if it makes it to his desk. It's set to be up for a vote on Monday. Reporting live in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Thank you. This pension bill was introduced by Council President Nick Mosby on the eve before voters approved Question K. The council voted 9-2 to advance the bill. Zeke Cohen and Ryan Dorsey voted against the measure. 3 members, Mark Conway, Eric Costello, and Felicia Porter, abstained from the vote. Here are the 9 other members who supported the bill. The bill now faces one more vote on Monday before heading to the mayor's desk. The mayor has not publicly spoken out on the bill.
Last night, the Baltimore Sun editorial board came out against the city council's swift action, directly rebutting Council President Nick Mosby's claim that a vote for Question K was a vote for swifter pension access. In an editorial, the Sun said, quote, "It is far easier to make the case that Question K passed by a 2-to-1 margin, in part because of Council President Mosby's rushed legislation," and went on to say they urge all parties to shelve this effort until the potential cost and benefits are clear.
That brings us to our other question of the day. Is it fair for first responders to wait 25 years for a city pension while council members only wait 8? So far, 98% of the people who voted say no. We want to hear what you think. There's still time. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. Make sure to click on the Pulse tab.
A national search for her replacement, but we still don't know why she's leaving. Pushing for answers on Baltimore Police Chief Melissa Hyatt's departure.
At least 12 injured yesterday as an explosion destroys a Gaithersburg apartment complex. What we're learning about how it happened.
And an evening stroll is going to have to include a heavy jacket with temperatures falling down to around freezing through this evening. I'm going to let you know when things could warm up and if it comes at the expense of some flakes in my Weather Authority forecast.
Residents say it felt like a bomb going off, and tonight at least 12 people are recovering after an explosion and fire at an apartment complex in Gaithersburg.
Crews working to clean up the rubble say it could take days to finish.
Kevin Lewis from our Sinclair sister station in Washington, D.C. is live in Gaithersburg in Montgomery County with the latest on the situation. Kevin?
Well, I'll start with some good news. Hospital staff have released 9 of the 10 people transported with injuries yesterday. The youngest victim, only 4 months old. The one person who is still in the hospital is reportedly improving. It's an adult man. As for the exact cause, that we don't know.
Fire investigators led a trained dog across the rubble Thursday as the whereabouts of one condo unit owner remain a mystery.
This will be a multi-day event.
Fire Chief Scott Goldstein said he's hopeful that person is on vacation or still working, but it's been more than 30 hours now since the blast.
We know people can survive for days in building collapses. At the same time, relating to a collapse and a fire, as we've experienced with other events in Montgomery County, those are mounted odds that makes it hard for a survivor to survive.
The fire department is using an industrial crane to remove pieces of the collapsed condo building, including decorative pillars. It was constructed in 1967 using a type of concrete similar to what you see in many parking garages.
Overnight, the crane was set up, the heavy equipment was brought in, the fence was installed, lighting was installed, and overnight security remains.
Reporters asked Executive Mark Elrich his thoughts about 3 building explosions in 6 years across Montgomery County, all involving natural gas.
We don't know the cause of this. We have no reason to believe it's a regulator. But when we find out the cause, we see if there's a thread that links all 3 incidents. But right now, you've got 2 incidents with no thread between them. I don't know whether this third one will produce a thread.
As part of their investigation, fire officials want to recover the gas ovens and cooktops from all 9 impacted units. There were also gas dryers in each building's common area laundry room, and investigators also want to examine the building's gas piping. These are all items that need to be plucked from the rubble. We're live in Gaithersburg this evening. I'm Kevin Lewis, Fox 45 News.
The cold is here and here to stay. High temperatures only in the mid-40s today. Right now, Toyota Eastern Harbor Skycam shows a mainly clear skies. 40 winds out of the west at 9 miles an hour, making for wind chills at 34. And this, if you wouldn't believe it, by the weekend, maybe some of the warmer weather that we see as of late. Temperature right around 40 Baltimore, 30s in the outlying areas, and even a little bit of a wind chill. If you add it in, it's 31. That's what it feels like now. At Westminster, heaters certainly going strong from Bel Air up to Elkton and also Chestertown down to Stevensville, with feels like temperatures at about 34 and 29 at Gaithersburg. All the temperatures running about 5 degrees or so below where they were just 24 hours ago. Taking a look here at the radar. This is a big area of interest along the Great Lakes. Places around Buffalo, New York, maybe even downtown Buffalo, New York, could see up to and exceeding 4 feet of snow through the weekend. This is all lake effect activity, but some of the southern ends you see here, they kind of eventually scrape south. Most of them dry out as they head up and over the Appalachians, but a couple of flurries or maybe sprinkles as those bands really get going tomorrow could make their way toward us. So otherwise, it's really overall drying out and chilly. But take a look at the future scan. Overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, just a few patchy clouds. Temperature settling down into the upper 20s to near 30. A few degrees colder, I think, than what we saw last night when we woke up this morning. And the jackets back out tomorrow. And then look, by about 4 or 5 o'clock, although temperatures are probably above freezing, there's a couple little sprinkles, and maybe, especially north, there could be a little bit of snow shower activity mixed in after about 4 or 5 through about 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, maybe even a pellet or two of graupel or sleet in there if you get one of these. Again, it's very isolated stuff, but it wouldn't be surprising, just like last night, to see a few of these kind of dancing across the area. 29 degrees, mostly clear and cold for tonight. Again, tomorrow, that maybe flake or spritz in the afternoon, increasing clouds with a high right around 46. We go to 43, a cold day on Saturday. And some of the coldest weather thus far this season on Sunday for the Ravens game, high only 39. That could be a record high minimum. followed by maybe a record low temperature Sunday into Monday, and then it does warm up at least through Wednesday. Turkey Day, 43, and maybe even some rain snow mix into Friday.
Jonathan, thank you. A major power shift on Capitol Hill, the impact of Republicans taking control of the House. Baltimore County's chief of police leaving her position, but many questions remain unanswered on what's behind the big change. Well, tonight, a major shakeup is underway at the Baltimore County Police Department as Chief Melissa Hyatt prepares to leave her post next month. As the county executive's office says, a national search is underway for her replacement. There are unanswered questions, though, about what prompted this big change. Fox 45's Amy Simpson joins us live. Amy, what else are you learning about the chief's departure?
Mary, we're less than 3 weeks away from the end of her tenure at the Baltimore County Police Department. But tonight we don't know if she resigned, if she was asked to resign, or if this was a mutual decision to go separate ways.
When I started in June of 2019.
Change is coming at the top of the Baltimore County Police Department, with news that Chief Melissa Hyatt will no longer be in charge after December 5th. That date marking the end of Hyatt's contract.
Good morning, everyone.
And the start of County Executive Johnny Olszewski's next term. But when asked why and what prompted the departure,
leaders come and go for a variety of reasons, and we are very thankful for the chief's service these past years.
Johnny O with the same response several times today. Will you say if Chief Hyatt had any say in this decision about her departure?
I would just again say that leaders come and go for a variety of reasons. I'm very grateful for the work that we've done. I'm proud of what Chief Hyatt and I have done together in the years past. There have been some really important reforms enacted, some important progress made in the department, and we're looking forward to what's ahead.
Back in May, the Baltimore County Police Union signaled a divide in the department, holding a unanimous vote of no confidence in Chief Hyatt, saying it had lost all faith and confidence in her leadership. But even after that public display of dissatisfaction, the county executive, the one with the power to hire and fire the head of police, stood by the chief. The FOP held a vote of no confidence for Chief Hyatt 6 months ago. Afterwards, you said you were fully confident in her abilities. What has changed for you in those last 6 months?
We listen to all of our constituencies, including the FOP. At the end of the day, we take those, that feedback into consideration, but we don't make decisions on one factor.
Today, the union with a candid response.
It's basically as if a breath of fresh air. The membership's looking really forward to moving forward. They were very, very upset with how things were going.
The Fraternal Order of Police says it can now move forward with rebuilding the agency.
It was time for change. He recognized that. I can tell you, as far as for the rank and file of the Baltimore County Police Department, they're very appreciative of that.
Best case scenario, the union says, would be for local talent to be considered for the top job, but knows the county executive has the right to search far and wide for the right person. Regardless, the FOP wants its next chief to prioritize one thing:
membership. We've lost a lot of police officers to other agencies in the state, so it's not police reform. It's not Annapolis. It's leadership here.
And in a statement yesterday afternoon, Chief Melissa Hyatt said, in part, "With the end of my term quickly approaching, I am both saddened to be leaving my Baltimore County family and excited to see what the future holds. During my tenure as chief, we worked through challenging times. I am so very proud of our many accomplishments, including initiatives that sharpened our focus on community trust, public safety, and officer wellness." Now, today I did ask the department for an interview with Chief Hyatt to discuss her departure, but I'm told that she's out of town on business. Meanwhile, an interim police chief has not yet been named. Reporting live tonight, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Baltimore is approaching its 300th homicide of the year, looking into why efforts to stop the city from hitting that mark have failed. Taxpayers are spending $100,000 on top of her base salary, looking into the extra benefits being given to the CEO of a struggling school system.
We continue our breaking news coverage of the killing of Timothy Reynolds.
He is the driver killed during a July encounter with a group of squeegee kids downtown. And new tonight, a judge has ruled the 15-year-old teen charged in the case will be tried as an adult.
We have the family spokesperson in studio. Thuru Vignarajah is live right now. Thuru, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the Reynolds family is not calling today a celebration, rather a step towards justice. What's your reaction to this?
I think that's exactly right. I think the family is relieved. We are grateful. This is a moment that shows that even when Marilyn Mosby takes a terrible position, that justice can still be done, that the judge can see through her nonsense and appreciate the reality of what happened here. You have the facts, you have the evidence, you have a family that wanted to fight for their loved one, and today their fight yielded a small but important victory.
This is through the second plea deal from the city state's attorney's office that you've worked to toss out. Our viewers probably remember us talking about Luther Trent. What's your takeaway from the success in getting this proposed deal tossed out, basically?
Yeah, look, I mean, in both of these circumstances, the facts were clear, and I think it was important to stand up and fight for the victims, but it's not supposed to be this way, right? Prosecutors are supposed to be fighting for the victims. It shouldn't take an advocate from the sideline coming in to do it. But I'll tell you, the single most important factor in both of those cases was the courage of the victims. The courage of the victims, not just to stand up and to speak up for their own rights, but to be willing to go into a court, to be willing to go into the public forum, to know that people with sharp spears were going to throw their venom at them, but to nevertheless say some things are more important. And in this case, it was the memory and legacy of Timothy Reynolds.
Yeah, and through it, by the same token, the video was released. What does it say, too? I know we're talking about the suspect who's accused of shooting Mr. Reynolds, about Mr. Reynolds' behavior in all of this when this situation happened.
You know, I think the family was the first to come out and say, God, we wish Tim Reynolds had not gotten out of that car. We know what a terrible judgment that was, but he was walking away. He was walking back to his car after that bad judgment when three men, including the defendant, surrounded him, followed him. One of them, the defendant, had gone and gotten a backpack and then separately took a step away to pull down that mask. I think that fact was a really significant fact today. The fact that he stepped away and pulled down that mask and re-engaged, I think it made it clear to everyone in the courtroom that this was not self-defense, this was not an accident, this was not an act in the moment, the heat of the moment. It was premeditated, deliberate conduct, and that's the kind of conduct that requires adult court.
It has been an emotional couple of days for both sides on this case. Are you going to continue to represent and work with the Reynolds family? I know that his wife is very private. She really did not want to come out and speak.
Yeah, I will, of course, honor their wishes. I think what's important is they stayed silent, hoping and having faith that the system would work without them, peddling out their perspective in public. When they saw week after week, month after month, defense attorneys essentially slander their loved one, to tell a story that was just not true and was not consistent with the facts, I think it was important for them to speak out. I think their faith is renewed, and I, of course, will be there to fight for them for as long as they want.
Thuru Vignarajah, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Fox 45 News has been covering this case in every aspect of it. You can continue to count on us for continuing coverage in the days ahead.
Well, right now, Baltimore is on the verge of once again reaching 300 homicides, with 299 people killed so far this year in Baltimore.
Now, if reached, this would mark the 8th consecutive year the city has met this grim milestone. Alexa Ashwell looked into how we got here and what some will say will take to break the troubling trend.
The number 300, a somber milestone the city of Baltimore reaches year.
A good man. You're not looking for trouble.
After year.
She's a regular kid. People are angry, people are scared, but they're frustrated also.
Frustrated by the numbers in a city that was once outraged by 200 homicides.
200's unacceptable.
More than 300 has become the norm. Here, a look at the homicide totals over the years. Since 2015, there have been at least 2,631 homicides in Baltimore. That's more than the number of sworn officers within the entire Baltimore City Police Department. Or more than the number of U.S. military deaths during Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, according to statistics with the Department of Defense.
When Mayor Scott ran in 2020, his number one goal was to get it under 300. And it doesn't appear there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Political analyst John Dede believes the city may find hope in new leadership, including incoming Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, who has vowed to enforce all laws on the books.
My job is to hold people accountable.
And more outside help. Back in August, Maryland's U.S. Attorney Eric Barron announced 3 initiatives to tackle crime in Baltimore, including what he called an Al Capone model of prosecution.
I have directed my staff to investigate and prosecute repeat violent offenders for any and all wrongdoing that meets our priorities, especially fraud. This Al Capone model of prosecution is designed to take violent people off the streets by any appropriate legal means necessary.
Maybe this will develop more of a sense of urgency now. I think there can be some hope because there's an expression, a new broom sweeps clean. You know, even criminals know there was an election and Marilyn Mosby isn't going to be around anymore.
But challenges will remain, Dede says, including with the prevalence of guns on city streets and the officer shortage that has the Baltimore Police Department stretched thin.
The jump from 2014 to 2015, a lot of people at the time said, that's an anomaly. That was the Freddie Gray riots and things are going to return to normal. And they never did.
Dede says he believes that unrest, the riots, contributing in part to some reluctance for people to join the Baltimore police force. You may recall the city recently announcing a series of incentives to join the department, including the highest starting salary in the state. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Well, Baltimore County Council Chairman Julian Jones is in the hot seat tonight. A new Inspector General report accuses the county official of using public dollars to benefit a private business owner, one that has donated thousands of dollars to his campaign. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor has more on the road repair project that is full of controversy. Rebecca?
Yeah, Mary, the IG says that Jones acted unethically, but Jones says this is all untrue. Meanwhile, it's far from the first time Jones and the IG have butted heads.
Watkins Way. It's a small street in downtown Towson, stirring up big problems for Baltimore County Council Chair Julian Jones. Jones recently pushed for the alleyway to be repaved, costing the county nearly $70,000. But a report from the Inspector General claims the money that was pulled from a program was meant for improving alleys near residential properties, not private businesses. It also claims the chief of highway design told Jones this was a misuse of funds, to which the report says Jones allegedly replied words to the effect that they did not care and wanted it done, an exchange Jones vehemently denies.
I can't tell you how false that is. I cannot recall ever having a conversation with the chief of highway design about an alley.
Further investigating reveals Mid-Atlantic Properties, a property development and management firm, was the one requesting this road repair. Between the business and business owner, several donations to Jones's campaign have been made over the past 2 years, totaling more than $8,000.
As it relates to him being a donor of mine, I have quite a few donors, but I assure you that is not why I took any action on this.
Can you see where someone might think that that's a conflict of interest?
Well, I could see why people may think a lot of things, but the reality is I did not do anything wrong.
The county executive, Johnny Olszewski, and county administrative officer, Stacy Rogers, agreeing, writing this response to the IG's report, claiming the funds can be used for both commercial and residential areas.
I would say, you can look at our record. We have been the most open, transparent, and accountable government.
But that transparency was tested when the IG asked Jones for an interview, Jones agreeing to speak with her, but refusing to be recorded. But if you've done nothing wrong and you stand by everything that happened, why refuse to be recorded?
Well, that's the only problem with that, Rebecca. It goes against the freedoms we have in this country.
The dispute comes after Jones and Olszewski attempted to create a politician-controlled oversight board to govern the office of the Inspector General in July of last year.
I was hired to be an independent watchdog for Baltimore County government.
That oversight board never created, but controversy inside Baltimore County government continues.
Now, I tried to reach out to Mid-Atlantic Properties for comment today, but I did not hear back. Reporting live from the control room, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
With Republicans officially in charge of the House come January, the incoming chairman of the House Oversight Committee laid out the roadmap for its plans for new investigations. The National Desk's Ryan Smith has the story.
There's still more than 6 weeks until Republicans officially take over the U.S. House following their midterm victory, but they are not wasting any time in ramping up their investigation of the president and his son.
Was Joe Biden directly involved with Hunter Biden's business deals, and is he compromised? That's our investigation.
Incoming chairman of the Oversight Committee, James Comer, said the most important thing for them is to get access to Hunter Biden's bank records that detail alleged suspicious activity, a request that has been refused by the Treasury Department.
These suspicious activity reports are very detailed, and these aren't from little banks like in my part of Kentucky. These are, Wells Fargo, J.P. Morgan.
In the investigation documents, Republicans say a review of Hunter's laptop and information from whistleblowers reveals a decade-long pattern of influence peddling, national security risks, and political cover-ups.
Why has the Biden administration suddenly changed their position on suspicious activity reports? Any member of Congress, any chairman wanted to see him, any ranking member wanted to see him, any member of Congress, any committee, you got a chance to see him. Suddenly, no, we can't see him.
Hunter Biden has been under federal investigation since 2018, initially centered around his business ties with China and Ukraine. Last month, the Washington Post reporting that federal agents have gathered what they believe is sufficient evidence to charge him with tax crimes and a false statement related to a gun purchase. President Biden has long defended his son, and when asked last week about the GOP's plans for investigations, the president said, quote, "Lots of luck in your senior year."
I think the American people will look at all of that for what it is. It's just almost comedy.
In addition to digging into the president and his son, Republicans have said they also plan on investigating the origins of COVID-19 and the Biden administration's withdrawal from Afghanistan. I'm Ryan Smith reporting.
Over $100,000 in perks, asking a taxpayer advocate if the city is paying too much for the city school CEO.
And the potential of some record cold coming as we head into Sunday. Take a look at some of these temperatures forecast for us. The forecast is high 39, the record high minimum at 38, and tying the record low perhaps Sunday night. Cold for the Ravens game. I'll let you know if it could come with snow too. My Weather Authority forecast.
The head of Baltimore City Schools is getting more than $100,000 a year in perks on top of her base salary. Megan Gillen talks with the taxpayer advocate who breaks down the benefits.
A Project Baltimore investigation reveals Baltimore City Schools CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises earns nearly $445,000 a year, thanks to perks buried in her contract. Her base salary is actually just over $333,000. Here to weigh in on the perks, David Williams with the Taxpayers Protection Alliance.
It's really crazy because we're talking about $50,000 a year in deferred compensation. Now, what this means is she doesn't have to pay taxes on that $50,000 a year. She'll get that later. She gets 39 vacation days. Think about that. 39 vacation days, 13 sick days, 3 personal days. And of course, you know, she's not going to take all of those days. So she gets paid for those days at the end of the year. The last contract she had, that amounted to about $40,000 that she got paid of unused sick time. And then she gets a car, about $10,000 a year for a car. So this really adds up, and all of a sudden you have $400,000.
I want to ask you this, and how this would compare to other school districts in Maryland and across the country.
So let's look at Howard County, one of the best performing school districts in Maryland. The superintendent, the CEO, doesn't get paid as much, $290,000. Now, granted, $290,000 is still a lot of money, but it is a school system that is working. Baltimore City is a school system that isn't working.
Well, Dr. Santelises' contract was approved by the school board. Project Baltimore did reach out to them, and while they declined an interview, they did issue a statement saying our CEO is worth every cent of her salary. We've got that statement right here. You can read the full statement on foxbaltimore.com. I'm Megan Gillen, Fox 45 News.
A cold one today. Temperatures at 40 degrees in Towson right now. Winds out of the west at 9. Highs only in the low to mid 40s this afternoon. Wind chill now at 34. We do have just a couple of patchy clouds here and there. Nothing big, but again, it's cold. You're going to need to bundle up in layers heading on the PM commute. 37 now at Westminster, 39 at Frederick. Temperatures right around 40 in Baltimore and low 40s on the eastern shore. 37 up in Elkton. It feels more like freezing or below most neighborhoods with the wind, so going to have to bundle up once again. Those temperatures running about 5 to 10 degrees below where they were just 24 hours ago as the lake effect snows begin to fire up. Here's the band. You're going to be seeing a lot of this one probably the next several days, as it could put down up to, I don't know, maybe 60 inches of snow around the Buffalo area. And it's kind of interesting because almost 8 years ago, almost to the day, they saw some totals on the order of feet of snow, up to about 5 feet of snow around the Buffalo area. So it looks like we're going to see another one of these coming in the next several days, all the way through the weekend. Now, on the southern edge of some of this, there are a few flurries that make the trip, and most of them dry out over the Appalachians. But again, especially tomorrow, there is a risk that we could get a sprinkler flurry, kind of going to be bolstered by a little disturbance rolling through. Otherwise, really just kind of a dry and quiet, chilly pattern the next several days. If anything, it gets colder the next few days. Through 10 p.m. tonight, temperatures falling down to near freezing, upper 20s by early tomorrow morning. Notice the clouds off to the north. They start spilling in tomorrow afternoon as we make highs in the upper 30s and low to mid 40s. A couple of sprinkles and maybe even a little blue off to the north. That could be a snowflake in the mix. That'll go all the way through about 7:15, but temperatures above freezing if anything's coming down. So not expecting any real, accumulation type stuff here. And then into tomorrow evening, looks like we dry out, but get even colder. 29 degrees, mostly clear skies for tonight. Tomorrow we're at 46. Clouds increasing. 7-day forecast, 46, a late flake or a spritz for tomorrow. Cold on Saturday, 43 for a high. That 39, as I mentioned, could be a record high minimum if we can shave a degree or two off of that forecasted high for Raven Sunday. Could tie at least a record low Sunday night into Monday. And then it warms up at least briefly before it cools down for Turkey Day. And it looks like things could get more interesting by Black Friday. And in fact, we're going to get into that coming up in my Weather Authority extended forecast through this weekend and next weekend.
The fate of President Biden's loan forgiveness program is in limbo. All coming up at 6 o'clock, the plans from the White House to ask the nation's highest court to intervene.
This Sunday could mark the NFL debut for one Ravens rookie. What he could bring to this defense when he's healthy, ahead on Sports Unlimited. Many watched David Ajabo's pro day in March and the unfortunate injury that he suffered. Ajabo tore his Achilles during a drill, causing the projected first-rounder to fall in the draft. Then in the second round, with the 45th overall selection, Ajabo heard his name called. That's when the Ravens took the former Michigan linebacker, reuniting him with defensive coordinator Mike McDonald. There's potential that Ajabo makes his NFL debut this Sunday against the Panthers, and McDonald has loved what he's seen from him so far.
Yeah, he's playing fast. I mean, I know obviously the playbook he's familiar with, so it's just a matter of just getting him ready to roll. But I think his confidence is right there, and he looks good.
I feel good. I feel great, actually. Yeah. So like I said, man, my number's called. I'll be ready. Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. Just day by day and just giving it your all, giving it your best, because that's how you get the best outcome. So. I just know deep inside, if I give it my best, give it my all, I'm going to make a 100% recovery.
In injury-related news, Mark Andrews, Jalen Armour-Davis, and Deshaun Jackson were not seen during the media viewing portion of practice. Andrews spoke with reporters in the locker room after practice, and he was non-committal to whether or not he will play this Sunday against the Panthers. In Owings Mills, Rocco DeSangro for Sports Unlimited.
All right, we got a big Ravens game going on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. Could be some record cold temperatures for it. 36 at kickoff at 1 p.m., 37 at halftime, 35 in the final, and wind chills down into the 20s. And I wanted to, just for fun, take a look at the Thanksgiving forecast for getaways. Thanksgiving looks good, although colder. And look at what happens here on Black Friday on our GFS Future Scan. The blue, that's some snow, maybe to ice to rain. We're tracking that one closely.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, the case of a 15-year-old squeegee kid charged with shooting and killing a Baltimore driver will be tried in adult court. Reaction coming up. We're learning more about a years-long investigation into sexual abuse claims in the Archdiocese of Baltimore, the number of victims and the number of priests being investigated.
This is just one hurdle in a set of hurdles that we have to go.
The tail will continue to wag the dog until and unless we deal with those environments.
A plea deal rejected for the 15-year-old accused of shooting and killing Timothy Reynolds. Where the case goes from here. The Baltimore City Council is moving ahead with plans to shorten how long they have to serve in order to receive a pension. Fox 45 News is looking into how much that could cost taxpayers. And developing tonight, the White House is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene in its student loan forgiveness plan. What this means for those waiting for relief.
Live
From WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
And good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. We are following a pair of breaking stories tonight. We're hearing about a years-long investigation into the sexual abuse claims inside the Archdiocese of Baltimore. The investigation identifying more than 150 priests accused of abuse and hundreds of victims. We are also following the fate of the 15-year-old squeegee kid charged with shooting and killing a Baltimore driver downtown. That now lies in the adult court system. We have team coverage of these two breaking stories. We're going to go to Mackenzie Frost and the latest developments in the murder case of Tim Reynolds. Mackenzie.
Yeah, Mary. So after the judge rejected the plea deal on the table earlier today, this case will move forward in the adult court system. Remember, the plea deal that was being discussed involved the suspect pleading guilty to manslaughter and therefore the case staying in the juvenile system. But now we know that is not happening. It will move forward in the adult court system. However, it's unclear when the next court date will be scheduled. Now, we do know that this hearing today lasted several hours, nearly all day. It was closed to the public as well as members of the media, but we're told some videos were played during the hearing and multiple witnesses were called to testify. We know that this case has garnered a lot of attention, especially in recent days, with both sides of this issue calling dueling press conferences, airing their frustrations to the members of the media, getting some of the information out into the public. After the ruling from the judge today, it was no different. We heard from both sides very strong reaction. The defense says that they are not giving up. They're going to continue fighting this case, while the family of Timothy Reynolds says this was the first step.
He's 14, he's 15 now. I mean, I'm just not willing to give up on him that easy. I'm not willing to just throw him in a penitentiary. Hagerstown, Jessup, Eastern Shore. Because trust, when he comes out, if you think he's bad now, you better run for the hills. And that does none of us any good.
This is just one hurdle in a set of hurdles that we have to go before us to get justice for my brother. And just so everyone knows, we are not celebrating. We believe that that was the right thing to do, but there are no winners in this case, and we just are going to continue the fight to get justice for my brother.
And Mackenzie, you just received a response from the city state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby. What is she saying?
That's right. The city state's attorney says that she's echoing some of the statements that we've heard from both sides, saying that there are no winners in this case. Let me read you part of her statement. She goes on to say, quote, "A man has lost his life and a child will have to face consequences because of his inexcusable and reckless actions. The juvenile system is rooted in the goal of reform, and it is my sincere hope that this young man will turn his life around and forever remember the damage he has done to the Reynolds family." Now, we still are not clear as to whether the prosecutor involved in this case today argued for or against this plea deal being accepted or rejected. The state's attorney's office refusing to comment on that. But we also know moving forward, because this case will be heard in the adult system, it will be more likely that the public will be able to listen, and so the proceedings will be more open. We're live outside the juvenile justice system. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Well, our other breaking news story, a possible breakthrough in a years-long investigation into the sexual assault within the Archdiocese of Baltimore. Fox 45's Riel Creighton joins us live with the latest. Riel?
Mary, essentially what this is a motion filed by the Attorney General's office asking to release a report that on allegations that details the last 80 years of sexual abuse within the Archdiocese and the Archdiocese's response to it, a report, an investigation that uncovered some 600 victims. The Attorney General's office compiled a 456-page report, but many of the details are contained in the motion that we saw today. The report, according to the AG's office, summarizing sexual abuse and physical torture perpetrated by 158 identified priests. Their investigation, they say, also revealing that the Archdiocese failed to report many of the allegations, conduct adequate investigations, or remove the abusers, and instead went to, quote, great lengths to keep the abuse secret. Today, reaction from the Maryland director of the Survivors Network of those abused by priests.
Motions across the board, right? I'm hurt. My heart just aches. I just can't believe it. I'm angry. Hopeful. I'm hurt because, I mean, we're talking 600 kids, right? right? 600. And a study came out, about 15 years ago when this whole crisis was coming out, and it was by an independent. Only 6% of victims ever come forward.
As 600 children identified uncovered in the investigation, according to the AG. The point that he is making is that there are likely many, many more victims. They also say that in this motion. Reporting live outside the Archdiocese of Baltimore, Riel Creighton, Fox 45 News.
Well, it is the end of an era in Washington, D.C. Beginning with the next Congress, Nancy Pelosi, a Baltimore native and the first woman to lead a major political party in either chamber of Congress, will step down from her leadership position. Pelosi has spent 20 years in a Democratic leadership position and says she's confident in her party's future. She says despite leaving leadership, she will remain active in Congress. Well, House Majority Leader and Maryland Congressman Steny Hoyer is also stepping down from his role. He will not run for House leadership in the new session. Hoyer will also remain in Congress, though. He is backing New York Representative Hakeem Jeffries to lead House Democrats.
The Biden administration is expected to appeal to the Supreme Court to reinstate and restart its student loan forgiveness program. Now, the government website for applications says the program was paused following recent setbacks in court. Student loan payments are set to resume in the new year. Millions of Americans have already applied for relief of up to $20,000. Mary?
I work hard in the city for my constituents. I bring money to my constituents. Only job I have. I'm working hard. When I leave here, I want to have a pension.
A proposal to change Baltimore's pension plan for elected leaders is slated for a final vote on Monday. Maxine Stryker explains the impact this new proposal could have on the city's bottom line.
In Baltimore City, there are currently more than 12,000 employees enrolled in the city's pension program. And if approved, this would add even more to that list. And it could cost you, the taxpayer, more than you think.
Set for a vote Monday, it's a fast-tracked bill that would lower the number of years Baltimore City elected leaders must work to earn a pension. Currently, they must serve 12 years, but the bill aims to make it only 8. City Council President Nick Mosby, who sponsored the bill, claims it's necessary after Baltimore City voters overwhelmingly passed Question K on Election Day, establishing future term limits for local elected officials.
This may be a very serious financial hit to the city of Baltimore if this legislation passes. Right now, the pension system is fully funded, I believe, at $1.5 million a year. That could balloon, and that could be a real problem and put a drag on the city's finances for decades to come.
David Williams, president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance, says it won't just cost the city, but you, the taxpayer, will also be on the hook for paying your elected leaders lifetime benefits for part-time work.
And that could mean that thousands of more people in the city of Baltimore will be receiving pensions.
According to city data, just over 8,000 city employees are receiving a pension, and nearly 4,000 fire and police employees who are required to work 25 years before becoming eligible for their pension benefits. That's 3.2% of active Baltimore City workers enrolled in a city pension plan.
I mean, you can look at someone who's 40 years old, becomes a city council member at 48. They're receiving a pension for the rest of their lives, which could be 30 to 40 years.
Williams says pensions are becoming a thing of the past, replaced by 401ks and other defined contribution plans. From 1980 through 2008, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, participants in pension plans fell from 38% to 20% of the U.S. workforce.
And a lot of cities are recognizing that it's what some of the workers want. They want a 401k. They want other options to invest their money in. And it's more stable. And it's really a win-win for taxpayers and the city workers because they're getting a better return, and it's not a burden on taxpayers.
The leader of the city's retirement system and finance department have even expressed concern and pushed back on the timing of this bill.
Now, Mayor Brandon Scott has not said whether or not he will support this plan if it does make it to his desk or if he'll veto it. It is set to appear on the council agenda on Monday. Reporting in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
And here's our look at today's top trending stories. Number one, we have a date for the launch of mobile sports betting in Maryland. Gamblers will be able to place their bets starting next Wednesday, November 23rd, just in time for the NFL Thanksgiving slate. This comes one day after the Maryland Sports Wagering Review Commission awarded sports betting licenses to 10 businesses. They received 21 applications. Number two, an annual tradition to ensure many families in need have a chance to enjoy Thanksgiving dinner. Live Casino partnered with local food banks and schools to provide over 350 turkeys to families in need. Fox 45's Amy Aronson talked to some of the volunteers about how they suggest people prepare these turkeys for the holiday.
You get it and it's frozen and it's overwhelming. How do you make it look like this?
Well, this is a show turkey. Generally what we would do is we want to thaw our turkey fully, and then you want to brine it for 48 hours. Whatever your favorite brine is, it's really important just to have salt and sugar, water. Make sure it's cold when you put your turkey in. I would generally split the turkey in half because your white meat and your dark meat cook differently, and you would take twice as long. And if you're going to just carve it up anyway for your table, might as well just carve it up and then have it separate and have it moist and juicy.
I love a show turkey. They look so nice. Well, some of the organizations helping distribute the turkeys include the United Way, Baltimore City Public Schools, and Cherry Hill Housing. Number three, controversy surrounding one of the hottest tickets in the country. Ticketmaster announces there will be no public ticket sale for the upcoming Taylor Swift tour, claiming they don't have enough inventory after a pre-sale earlier this week. More than 2 million tickets were sold during that pre-sale. Ticketmaster says that is a single-day record. The company says their verified fan program, designed to weed out bots and scalpers, was overwhelmed by demand.
U.S. aid to Ukraine could surpass $100 billion if President Biden gets his way. Republicans wanting to know where all that money is going. I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington.
And it looks like a cold one tonight as temperatures dip down to just below freezing. I'm going to let you know how cold it's going to stay and for how long. And we've even got your outlook out to Turkey Day. It's up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Well, new tonight, congressional Republicans are vowing to take a hard look at Ukraine relief packages as President Biden asks for more money. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins takes us through the debate.
President Biden asking Congress to send another $38 billion in aid to Ukraine as Republicans demand accountability for the billions of dollars already sent.
This is one of my huge problems with what we've done with the Ukraine aid, is that it's been a blank check to them, where we're literally writing them checks to their treasury with no controls on how they can spend it.
Tallying up military, humanitarian, government aid, plus President Biden's new request, the United States will have sent more than $100 billion to Ukraine this year alone, a figure larger than every single country's annual military budget, excluding the U.S. and China. The immense aid comes as the U.S. debt ticks upwards of $31 trillion, as pointed out by Senator Rand Paul.
And it's not as if we have that money lying around. We will have to borrow that money from China to send it to Ukraine.
A coalition of conservative groups sending a joint letter to Nancy Pelosi and Kevin McCarthy saying, quote, it would be a major blunder to rush another massive aid package to Ukraine without first determining the appropriate end state toward which our expenditures are committed.
But I do think we need to do more oversight. We need to find out where all this money is going before we take the next step.
The cloudiness surrounding overseas aid is not a new frustration. Full Measure Cheryl Atkinson raising questions over the $1 billion sent to Afghanistan following the U.S. withdrawal during an interview earlier this year with the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction.
I think the American people have a right to know from Congress and the administration how you're going to make certain it goes to the starving child and not to some, fat Taliban leader.
Republicans promising increased oversight of the money sent to Ukraine and the withdrawal from Afghanistan when they take control of the House in January. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
A familiar sight this time of year, salt trucks and plows at the ready in Buffalo, New York, as a snowstorm is expected to dump multiple feet of snow in the area. They're saying 4 feet starting tonight. And while Buffalo is no stranger to these big snowstorms, the city's infrastructure alone might not be enough to handle this surge so early.
In addition to the city plows, we've already coordinated assistance with New York State DOT. Their equipment will be on our streets as well, assisting our city personnel. And we thank them for their assistance at this point in time.
Predictions of heavy snow are attracting the attention of the NFL, which has moved Sunday's Bills-Browns game out of the area. It'll be played in sunny, warm Detroit. Actually, it will be warm because Detroit has a domed stadium, unlike Buffalo. Well, not quite the blizzard outlook here, Jonathan, but it has been brisk over the past few days. It really feels like we have to transition into winter mode here, right?
And gradually, yes, we are. And Mary, you know what? Some of that cold that's producing the lake effect snow in Buffalo is affecting us. Could even see a flurry, perhaps, out of some of the edges of that lake effect activity tomorrow. Quick little explainer. How does lake effect snow work and why don't we see it around here? Well, number one, you need a big lake, like the Great Lakes, like Lake Erie, and that's what's just off to the west of Buffalo. So the setup is you've got the surrounding land areas that are generally colder than the lake. We kind of know that around here with our snowstorms. When you're around the Inner Harbor, it's always a little bit warmer than around those surrounding areas. That's why places like Westminster get all the snow, and places like the Inner Harbor, well, they kind of mix in with rain often. Now, same case here in Buffalo. Lake Erie's warmer than the land areas around the lake. Then we get these Arctic surges like the current one that's happening, and the wind flow pushes cold air up and over that warm, moist air that's induced by the lake. And then the winds take this moisture, this condensation that occurs, and push it eventually up and over the shoreline. So on those shorelines that are just on the eastern sides of the lakes, in case of the Great Lakes like Lake Erie, that's where you get those big snow bands that occur in those heavy lake effect snows. And that's what's going to be happening in Buffalo. Back in 2014, had some 65 inches of snow in Buffalo during the same time frame, so just 8 years ago. Right around here, again, those temperatures in the 30s. That's what's going to help to induce that lake snow off to our north. Temperatures in the 30s, but clear skies around here. There are some clouds out to the west, and then another dunk of very cold air that's farther west than that. And you can see in between, there's some of the lake effect snow showers and flurries. Some of the southern end of this is going to be sweeping our way And as that lake snow pairs up with it, it dries out as it comes over the eastern side of the Appalachians. So overall, we're not going to see a whole lot here, but potentially tomorrow afternoon, there could be one little band that tries to move through, and that could be some sprinkles and maybe a flake as we head into the evening hours. Overnight tonight, early tomorrow morning, again, the cold is going to be here. You're going to have to bundle up. Temperatures in the upper 20s to right around 30. By about lunchtime tomorrow, there are some of those clouds with that little disturbance paired up with some of that lake snow. And then the spot shower or maybe even a flurry here or there in that blue that could impact us through the evening hours. Then that's out of here and it looks quieter as we head through the remainder of the weekend, but even colder yet. Mostly clear skies, 29 for tonight, 46 increasing clouds tomorrow. I'm going to let you know what comes after all this when we can see some record cold around here and how the Ravens game shapes up. My exclusive 10-day forecast.
Well, still ahead, holiday shopping fast approaching. Why the world's largest online retailer issuing new warnings about potential scams. Well, holiday shopping season is almost here, and with it comes the threat of online scammers, of course. Lee Stoll from our Sinclair sister station in Seattle explains one company's warnings and how it can be hopefully make you a safer shopper.
These scams especially problematic over the holidays when people are getting more packages and placing more orders online.
According to Amazon, they've already initiated takedowns of more than 20,000 phishing websites and 10,000 phone numbers connected to impersonation schemes this year. Amazon says more than 50% of the impersonation scams reported by customers are for fake order confirmations. You get a fake email or text telling you to call or log on to a fake site immediately.
Even if you didn't purchase that from that company, you know, hey, this is a scam. Well, all they need is that small percentage of people that got that message that did purchase from that company to fill out that information.
The FTC received more than 3 million reports of impersonation scams since 2018, stealing about $6 billion from consumers. and outpacing the damage done by porch pirates.
There's only so many of them, and they can only hit so many doors in a day. Whereas online purchase scams, a lot of times, if we're talking about text message, emails, they're sending that message out to thousands and thousands of people.
So what should you do if you think you've been scammed? It might sound pretty easy, but first, contact your bank. Cancel your credit card or request a refund if you've used a gift card. The best rule, if you have any doubts, go directly to the website or to customer service before you reply to anything.
Exclusive 10-day forecast, 46, maybe a stray flake or spritz tomorrow afternoon, late tomorrow evening. Doesn't look like it amounts to a whole lot, but 43 and cold on Saturday. Sunshine on Sunday. That could be record cold for the high temperature and the low temperature into Monday morning. For that Ravens game, their second half of the weekend, going to have to bundle up in layers. Then we're warming up to near normal temperatures for Tuesday, Wednesday. Turkey Day cools down 43 and going to have to watch next Friday for Black Friday. Could have some rain and snow around here. Really depends on our storm track. Temperatures dipping down into the 40s and 30s into the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, finally tonight, the Maryland Zoo is asking for your help naming its youngest penguin chicks. Check out this cute little guy, one of 4 African penguins in need of a name. This year, the zoo's babies are taking on an Italian theme. The names in the running are Ravioli, Limoncello, and Mozzarella. Vote at the Maryland Zoo's website to decide which of those 3 possibilities will win. Sorry. We like the puns. That's all. Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud is next. We'll see you again tonight at 10. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.